All right, good morning. It is Monday, January 4th. Happy New Year 2016. We are picking back up on our series on, I almost said How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days because that was a movie I just watched. But developing the leader within you. We've been studying chapter 9 on self-discipline, which I think is a very fitting chapter as we start thinking about and reflecting on 2015 and start making some goals for 2016. I know when I read this chapter, and I read it a couple of times, it really had me thinking about discipline and really where I lack in discipline. And that's kind of where it led me into my goal setting for 2016. But I know for me personally, well, I know for all of us, as business owners, we have to have self-discipline because we don't have a boss and we don't have anybody telling us what to do. So if we want to accomplish and reach our goals, then we have to have self-discipline. And also in my job, I have to have a lot of self-discipline as well. Because I do have a boss, but I have so much freedom with my day job that if I don't buckle down and really get disciplined, I could wind up not working very much during my day job, which could kind of get me into trouble there. So I'll start off with, I just wanted to open it up with a question for each of us. We'll have a short call this morning. And the question that I want us to really think about is, as we were reading this chapter, what were those areas that we were thinking about that maybe we lacked in discipline, or maybe we are really disciplined and we can kind of share with one another what those areas are, so we can kind of help each other out. But what kinds of systems have we developed for our business and for ourselves to be really efficient, in this business, either with, with our own health or with our clients or with our business, to really help us be self-disciplined. And I'll start off by sharing, myself, what kind of systems I have in place to help me be disciplined. And it really starts with the beginning of the month. And with our goal setting and the conversations that we have with our mentors. I know looking back at 2015, the months that I did really well is when I was the most disciplined and I was really plugged in and was connected with my mentorship. But I think that really, really helps me is starting off the month with, what do I want to accomplish for the month? Where do I want to get better? So for example, I've already listed out, for my business, I want to do a better job of client support. I want to grow my business, meaning I want my volume to, increase month over month, each month. I don't want to see that downward trend. And really, what is it going to take for me to get there? And it really requires me to be in action on a daily basis. So as far as the systems that I have put in place or will be putting in place, and I think Jamil talked about this and constantly talks about this, is when we post on Facebook. I think I do a pretty good job of posting on Facebook, but I'm not consistent with following up with the people that either liked or commented on my pictures. And that really takes a lot of self-discipline. And it's really pointless to even post if we're not going to follow up. So that's something that I'm committing to this month. I had several posts that I did last week, and a lot of us are sharing our personal stories on what coaching means to us. And we've got a lot of work to do to follow up on those people that have liked or commented. But to help me be disciplined in that area is really what works for me is blocking out time and really being a slave to my calendar. And what I mean by that is, if I've got some free time this afternoon, maybe from 3 o'clock to 4 o'clock, I'm going to dedicate that entire hour to going back to, those pictures that I posted and private messaging the people that liked or commented and just strike up a conversation with them. And hopefully eventually that leads to, getting their phone number and their email address and reaching out to them. And this will probably be a separate time that I'll set up, but reaching out and getting the word out with them. And really it's just following our systems that have been laid out for us because we know that it works. But I think a lot of the times, we struggle with being consistent with that. And if we're not consistent with that, then obviously that means we lack discipline and we're not going to get the results that we desire. Again, that's something I realized is I am not as consistent as I would like to be. So that's, we already, like I said, we already have systems in place. We just have to know them and model them, and I'm sure just by doing that, it's going to kind of spark a fire in me, and I'm going to start seeing some success. That's going to help me want to continue that. So that's kind of what discipline meant to me is just following our systems. And I wanted to open it up to you guys so you can share, even if you haven't read the chapter, if you can share kind of what systems you have in place, something that maybe might help one of us as well. Melody, are you able to come on?
Oh, thank you. You unmuted me. I was trying to remember how to do that.
I got you.
Okay, well, what you were saying is a lot of what I go through. I'm very consistent except for the last week when I was on vacation, when I had no reception. I'm very good about posting on Facebook, but it doesn't really do me any good unless I want to just have a motivational page if I'm not following up on the things that when people are liking. So I think that blocking out time, like you said, is going to be really beneficial to me. I'm gonna do that, and I know that being a slave to my calendar is going to be the best thing for me. But I have such a difficulty disciplining myself to do that. So that's one of the things that I want to work on in 2016. Is just being really more consistent on following up with people. And I was thinking of maybe, I know that, when we're following up with people, the best thing to do is to get them on the phone. But I feel sometimes that people don't really read your text all the way through. So I was also thinking about maybe using the voice thing that's on the text, the Facebook Messenger, and talking to people on that instead of sending a text message. It's really easy for me to just copy and paste. But, then, I don't know, maybe if I put more effort into it by talking on the voice part of it, maybe I would get better results. I have no idea, but, something worth trying. And then, try to discipline myself to, listen to more books on, I want to say books on tape, but they're not, the audio books, so that I can stay more focused and keep myself motivated. And I have my video going up on Wednesday for the coaching, and I worked on that yesterday with 10 different takes. So trying not to make it too long. So I could keep it at 2.5 minutes, because that's what everybody else has seemed to have done at about 2.5 minutes. I think people start to lose interest after about that long. So I just want to do 2016, just when I get off work today, I have my flyers all made with my business cards stapled to them for January 9th down the street. So I'm going to go around my neighborhood and see if I can talk to my neighbors and maybe get some of those people over there. You know, it's so close that if they have the time and they're interested, it's perfect time with all the New Year's resolutions. So I'm just going to try and really zone in on people's, you know, wanting to be healthy for the new year, and then being more consistent with my client follow-up. Like last week, I wasn't able to follow up a bunch with them because I was out of range. And I know that they'll understand that, but still, it doesn't look good for me to just fall off like that. So I just think just looking at the systems. Oh, and then another thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go back through the whole Office in Motion thing and just treat myself as a brand new coach and watch all the videos and stuff for the training. And then that 2-hour video that they did on January 2nd, I'm like halfway through that with Brian Drollinger and Craig Blanchett, everybody that was on that. So I'm like halfway through that, and that's really helpful too. I think that'll give me a boost. So just being disciplined and set aside time to go over things that are already in place for us to look at. I think that's going to work for me. So that's what I have.
Awesome. So it sounds like you have a lot of really good goals in place. What do you think would help you stay disciplined? Because it's one thing to put it out.
Learning how to follow my calendar. Learning how to write things on my calendar.
Okay.
And like setting aside time for that. I think that's going to be more beneficial, and that's going to be really hard for me because I'm not used to doing that. So that's going to be something. Sorry, I'm getting my car started.
Okay. Just something I was thinking about for you, Mel, just in reading the chapter, there was a whole section on accountability and having an accountability partner. And I know you and I worked together a couple of weeks ago when we were both kind of struggling to stay consistent. And I think that would be really big for you is, you know, once you state what your intentions are, is that you have somebody that's going to hold you accountable to that. Would you agree?
Oh, absolutely. It's just last month being peak season at UPS, I couldn't stay accountable. I couldn't make that time. I was having a hard time doing that because I was doing like, you know, close to 60 hours a week. And
oh yeah,
it was I went down from regional director down to associate director, but I knew that was going to happen. So it wasn't a surprise. So this month I really got to, you know, step it up. So, and I plan to. It's just, I you know, Garrett was asking me about that, and I'm like, well, I'm not having time. I have, you know, summer with her gymnastics and everything too. So it's kind of hard. Working so much. Sorry, I'm at work.
Yeah. But like you said, you know, with your calendar and because you are so busy, I think that's what's really going to help you be disciplined is to figure out, you know, what time do you have available and to block out that time and what income producing activities are you going to fill that with. And then have, you know, Garrett or even myself, I'd be happy to help you, you know, to be accountable to that, to really help kind of push you because it's something that you want to do, right?
I wouldn't pay for read or go global and pay for my everything if this wasn't something I was serious about doing.
Yeah, awesome. Awesome. All right, girl, thanks for sharing. I'm going to mute you. Carolyn, are you able to come on? Thumbs up, thumbs down?
Yeah, I can.
Okay.
So for me, I'm very self-disciplined. I have an administrative personality. So I'm very systematical. So once I have my systems down, I follow them, you know, like I should. Where I get into trouble is the fear that gets in my head. So I'm a slave to my Google Calendar. I have everything. I write down everything from sending out my weekly emails to sending out my connections every 2 weeks to I block out time for family. Like I have everything on my Google Calendar. But where I get into trouble is when I let the voices in my head start talking to me about, oh, you don't want to make that phone call because they're going to think this or they're going to think that, or you're bugging them. So one of the things I really want to work on this year is trying to get past that and be a little bit bolder and braver in how I do things. And I kind of have done that over time anyway. You know, as I went through this last month, it was a horrible month for me as far as my frontline volume. Like everybody was pushing orders out and I was trying to do everything I could do. And so I got a lot braver in trying to reach out to people and to post things and to tag people in things. And those are things that I wouldn't do before for fear. So, and it helped. It helped me hit that 6,000. And so, you know, just learning that by doing those things, those people are not going to disown me or bite my head off or anything like that, you know, that it actually is valuable to do those things. And so I need to work on not letting that fear get to me. And then also not letting other people in my life who are not slaves to their calendar, like my kids and my husband, step in on the time that I have blocked out. So my biggest issue at home is that I don't really have a workspace to like make my calls and do things. And, you know, we have 4 kids. And so the house is crazy when everybody's home. And for me to sit at the kitchen table or at the bar and make phone calls is kind of really hard because they're being loud, the TV's going and everything is going on. So I need to work on finding a place that I can do that, but just not letting them get in on my time that I've set aside for our business because, you know, we have big plans for our business this year and for paying off debt and seeing where we can go. So those are the areas I need to work on. And like you said, following up too. But that, again, that's that fear that, you know, I don't want people to think I'm bugging them or that, you know, they think I'm trying to sell them something.
So question for you on your calendar, when you block out time, what are you doing during that time?
When I block out time for family or when I block out time
for your business?
Whatever. Well, I actually, you know, I think ahead as to what I'm doing. Like like I said, I know what systems I'm doing. So I know if I'm doing connections email or if I'm doing Facebook posts or whatever, I'll just write it in there. Like I'll just schedule time for Facebook posts. I'll schedule time for connections. And then, you know, I have my interested calls and my follow-ups. So if I block out time, I say in the block, follow-ups, interested calls, what have you. Just, you know, I kind of designate that time for certain things that fall into where I'm at in my systems.
That's awesome. You sound very organized.
I am. I've been an administrative person in my job for 23 years now. So once I figure out the system, that's kind of where I had an issue in the beginning. Like it's kind of like, I need a system. But once I figured out the system and I have it down, then I can work the system. So
that's awesome. Thanks for sharing. And if I could ask you, you know, when you're not driving, obviously, is to maybe share like maybe a screenshot of your calendar to give us some ideas on how we can, you know, be better organized.
Okay.
I know when I post my calendar that I seem to get a lot of reaction. And I'm the same way with my calendar. I could be more disciplined though on the time though. Like when you say you're going to do follow-ups during this time, I'm just scheduling my client check-ins and my interested calls. But I really need to get more disciplined on, okay, what is my free time and what exactly am I going to do during that time?
Yeah.
I know that'll really help. Thank you. Jamil, you want to take us home? Jamil doesn't want to take us home.
I'll take us home.
Thank you.
All right. Good morning, everyone. Happy Monday. So I'll just kind of point out some of the things that stood out to me in this chapter. So bear with me as I flip through. So the title of this chapter is The Price Tag of Leadership. So at the very beginning, that meant something to me, because the price tag of leadership, if you ever are paying the price, then it means that it's not always easy to do. So self-discipline isn't something that's necessarily easy to do, right? If it's the price tag of leadership. So when I first started studying this book, I was like, what is he trying to tell me there? You know, what is he trying to say to me? And as I've spent more and more time with coaching and just in my everyday life, it's become more clear to me. So at the beginning, it's hard to have discipline in these certain areas, but once you do it and you're consistent with it, then it becomes every day. So one of the things he says is, he says that I define discipline in the beginning of life as the choice of achieving what you really want by doing things you don't really want to do. After successfully doing this for some time, discipline becomes a choice of achieving what you really want by doing the things you now want to do. And that's at the beginning of the chapter. Towards the end of the chapter, I love what he says about become character driven instead of emotional driven. And he says that, successful people are willing to do things unsuccessful people just will not do. And he also says, hold on, I lost my spot. Well, he essentially says that, you know, the disciplined person, maybe this is it. He essentially says the disciplined person doesn't necessarily have it easy. You know, nothing is ever easy. We could have situations to where we're extremely busy and things like that. However, the disciplined person will still get those things done, and that's what sets them apart. And he kind of talks about the same thing that Jack Canfield spoke about when he says, you know, these events are going to happen to all of us, but it's who that person is, who's that person going to be once these things happen. And I see that in my own life. I see it within coaches in our organizations. I see it with our clients. I see it in my relationship with my wife and things like that. So even though things are going to get really busy and, you know, our family members may not understand our schedules, or we might be on vacation, or we might be working 60 hours a week, or, you know, you're like, I remember when Amanda went into the hospital on bed rest for 5 weeks and all sorts of stuff. Is who's that person going to be? And the disciplined person will always rise to the top no matter what. The person who lacks self-discipline will start to get further and further away from the path. He says, you know, leaders can never take others further than they have gone themselves, for no one can travel without until he or she first has traveled within. And he says, when the leader is willing to pay the price for it, or a great person will lead a great organization, but growth is only possible when a leader is willing to pay the price for it. So I think it's so important for me as I look at the decisions that I make in my life. I want to first and foremost be a leader within my household. Like I want to lead my wife. I want to lead my kids. I want to lead myself. But before I can ask them to maybe step up to the plate, I want to make sure that I'm doing it myself. I look at the same thing in terms of my healthy body. And it doesn't mean that we're perfect by any means, but it means that we have some sort of game plan to how we're going to continuously get better. And same thing when I'm looking at my healthy mind. Like I was up this morning at maybe like 4:30 in the morning. When did I feed Mila? Maybe like 4:45, and started reading and just getting prepared. And obviously for my healthy finances and business, the same thing. So some of the things that I have that really work for me is in the office here, I have a whiteboard to where I have notes on it, and I have it right over my computer, which is like right over there. And so I can see the things that I want to do for that day. So it already says Monday, and it has the things that I absolutely need to do. And I'll tell you what they are. One is to get in touch with the training department so we can go over if I'm going to be speaking at Go Global. The other thing is to ask the Smithsons to be part of their coaching site so I can see what their systems are. Remove wires from within the office, put the curtains up, put up bookshelves, and then it has the potential coaches that I need to get in contact with today. So Naomi, Zeke, Thomas, Sean Henley, Mike Adams, Troy, Torre, Stephanie, Danita, Chris Garnett, Nicole Delaney. So those are the people that will be followed up with by today. Now, in my room, I have another whiteboard, and in there, it has my workouts for the day. And it has a quote that I look at every day, which basically says you can be mediocre today, or you can use your God-given talent and be amazing. And so I have my morning workouts in there, my stretches and stuff. And then here I have my folder that I use, and you can already see it starts out with January 4th, and it has some notes on there for things that need to get done. Of course, most of you guys have seen my Google Calendar, and like Carol Ann and probably like Nicole, I have things blocked off so that I know what to do and what times to do them. So to the point, it's not necessarily easy to do those things when those things aren't habits already, but nothing that's habitual is easy to do. You have to form the habits. And that's why he says it's a price tag of leadership. But, you know, you just cannot be a successful leader of people when you don't have self-discipline. It's impossible to do. And if we're thinking about, you know, really growing an organization to where, especially in any organization, to where so much of it has to do with people looking at us and our actions and trust, right? So if I'm going to be in an organization and my leader is never around, I don't see them, they're not necessarily doing the actions that I'm inspired by, they're wishy-washy, they come and they go, they say silly things within a group that's public for everyone, and all these sorts of things, it's probably not going to grow very much. Same thing within my household. And he talks about integrity. I'll just read a little bit of what he talks about integrity. We're going over, but I think this is important. Is it okay if I talk about this part,
Yeah,
Nicole?
that's the same page I have open. So that's,
Okay.
I thought that was a really good section.
So organize your life. We talked about that. He gives so many practical applications just with using your drive time to knock out a ton of things. But let me get to integrity because this part is my favorite. Develop integrity. Oh, man. So he says, you know, when people have integrity, their words and their deeds match up. They are who they are, no matter where they are or who they are with. People with integrity are not divided, that's duplicity, are merely pretending, that's hypocrisy. They are whole, and their lives are put together. People with high integrity have nothing to hide and nothing to fear. Their lives are open books. Integrity in a leader must be demonstrated daily, not like, you know, January through November, but when December comes, because all of a sudden it's the holidays, like I'm nowhere to be found. This is a practice that's daily for somebody that really wants to be a strong leader and like build a business. Or just think in your household, what if like your spouse, for example, was one person, and then because a certain season came, they were completely different. Like how would you respond to them? It'd be very, very weird. So integrity, a leader must be demonstrated daily in a number of tangible ways. These are the 5 that I strive to demonstrate to those I lead. He says, the first one is, I will live what I teach. Again, this isn't like an epilogue so we can beat ourselves up over it if we're not constantly living what we teach in terms of us, because I know in terms of the healthy body is very tricky for health coaches, but it means just be aware of it and work at it, and if we're not 100% at it, it doesn't mean, we kind of shrivel up and go away. It just means we step up to the plate. Like, let's just get better with it the next week. No problem. Number 2, I will do what I say. Very important. One of the things that I've noticed since I've been coaching about different organizations, and we have a lot of so-called leaders that lurk in our coaching group. And what I see in their organizations is a lot of talking, but not necessarily doing. And it's very hard to have consistent growth when you talk and you don't do the same actions. Everyone knows that if you don't do it, you lose it. So even those skills, I just see people completely lose because they don't do it. Like, people still hiding behind Facebook and messaging and refuse to get on the phone, but they have a new coach come on and they try to teach them how to get the word out, and it just isn't going to happen. Like, you got to do it. 3, I will be honest with others. 4, I will put what is best for others ahead of what's best for me. Boy, I see this all the time. For example, the other day in our coaching group, we needed someone to lead the client appreciation call. And there was a world of opportunity to do it. And everyone's busy with what they have to do. Every single person has family members and, jobs and responsibilities, but no one stepped up to the plate. It's very, very hard to grow organizations with those sorts of sentiments. 5, I will be transparent and vulnerable. This is a big one for us because sometimes as coaches, we feel like we need to be perfect. And if we're not perfect, we don't put ourselves out there. The greatest thing that we have is our vulnerability and the fact that we're not necessarily perfect. And so I will be transparent and vulnerable goes a long way because people can say, you know what, I can get down with that person. That sounds a lot like my story. That sounds a lot like what I'm going through. And this person, I see them consistently working on it. I want to get behind them and be part of whatever it is that they're doing. So pay now or play later. So this whole chapter, it's one of my favorites. It ranks up there with the people development for me. But I just think that without discipline, I think it's very, very hard to be successful in any area. And and I just think that it takes practice and desire to actually want to get better with these things. It's not just going to be easy, but that doesn't give us an excuse that, because it's not easy, I'm just not going to, consistently get better with it. So that's kind of my takeaways from the chapter. I love it. And I'm constantly trying to think about ways to get better with the discipline and then expand my systems too.
I love it. Thank you. Thank you. And I love what you said about not beating yourself up too, but it's more of just being aware, and even in the chapter, it also kind of talked about analyze the different areas in your life and what percentage of time would you say you're disciplined in those areas. And again, it's just awareness, step up to the plate. If you're not where you want to be, do something about it. That's the only way that we're going to get better. So thank you, Jamil, always for your words of wisdom. Can we see your new sweatshirt?
Yeah.
I know it's the one I've seen on Facebook. Certified health coach because freaking awesome is not an official job title. I love it.
I figured that I've been wearing my happiness one for maybe too much. I think I wore it like 3 weeks straight. So we're going to give this one a go now for the next 3 weeks
I love it.
or so.
What colors? And is that teal? Teal, black, and white?
Yeah.
Blue.
Yep.
Yeah, I love it. All right. All right, you guys, thank you so much for getting on. Great way to kick off the new year, you know, as we have really big goals this month. And we've heard it before. January should be explosive. We've got our January 9th event coming up. We've got the health game starting on January 18th. So time to get those systems in place and get organized, be a slave to our calendars, and just get busy and you know, reach out to as many people as we possibly can. We can't keep this a secret. So thanks, you guys, and see you next week for our final chapter. Chapter 10 is on staff development.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you. Have a
Thank
great
you.
Bye.